Watching some Neil deGrasse Tyson YouTube videos, and he says most of what he's interested in and does and talks about has nothing to do with God. Very, very little has to do with God. And when he does talk about God, it's mostly about how creation science and intelligent design does not belong in a science classroom. But then when he does talk about God, it seems to me as though he has a kind of provincial view of God. I find myself laughing quite a bit whenever I do these audios because the energy is a little bit more than I'm able to contain. So Neil was talking about how God is, by most people's definitions, all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-good. And then he stumbles over the proposition of God being good when there are so many things that are bad. And he used a tsunami example, or cancer, all sorts of bad things that happen to people. And what comes to my mind is a metaphor of God as being a playwright or a director, producer, actor, playing all the parts, sort of a pantheism or panentheism. During the drama, the play, the movie, all kinds of bad things happen. But after the movie is over, people come out and go, wow, that was a good movie. It was really, really good. And so that's a way of explaining why, even though bad things happen, and bad things happen to good people, that doesn't make everything bad. Everything can still be good, especially if everybody survives, and at the end of the story, they get up and they take a bow. Fig leaves are figurative leaves, and all of that leaves me in a garden. So after Adam and Eve ate from the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, they covered themselves with figurative leaves, and then they had to leave the garden. God, I think it says somewhere, I guess, God made them some clothes to wear. So God clothed them with, what, animal skins? I don't know if that's what happened. I'd have to look that one up and then try to figure out what does this represent. Well, if we are clothed with animal skins, we are animals. So I could perhaps go back and say, in the beginning, Adam and Eve were not animals. They were some other form of being. They were beings of consciousness. They were conscious beings, consciousness having been particulated as them as the field waved. God as being the field of consciousness, or the field of consciousness as being God, probably is not going to be a scientific kind of a philosophical, theoretical, verifiable sort of a paradigm. But this idea of field theory, that a field might be able to be used to describe. One thing Neil did in one of his talks that I liked very much, he said a dictionary does not define words. A dictionary describes how words are used. And I like that, because words, not being hot air, they're subject to usage, and the usage defines what the word means. So what am I trying to say in all this? That always comes back to my mind. Why am I doing this? Putting my thoughts into words, same thoughts, over and over and over again, round and round. I record them. Some I put on YouTube, some I leave on a computer and maybe re-record on a CD. Guess I just like to hear the sound of my voice. When I go back and reread some of my old writings, I like to see the pictures of my own thoughts. Consciousness is a real strange thing. I can see how out of consciousness arises everything else, all the theories, all the explanations. What appears to be things arise out of consciousness. A very strange thing. A thing, a think, a thought.